George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation. So pleased to be joined by my good brother, the resident playwright of Syracuse Stage, who's been just on fire with world premieres at Syracuse Stage. And yes, yet another world premiere of starting this week at the Syracuse Stage. It's called Tender Rain. Here to join us is Kyle Bass. Kyle, so good to see you. Kyle, what's been going on, my brother?
George, good to see you. Always good to see you. Man, I have been busy.
Right.
But all good. I'm really excited about Tender Rain opening, and I'm happy to be here to talk to you about it.
Yeah, talk to so I had you as the associate artistic director, which was something you did in the past, but now
Yeah.
you are not, and you've been resident playwright for a minute. But to be the resident playwright, what does that mean in terms of the stage and your relationship to the stage?
That's a great question. So as you know, I've been a lot of things at Syracuse Stage. I've been there a good while. Started out there when I was a child in 1993, I think, was my first season at Syracuse Stage, maybe. And then I was there for a little bit, and then I left, and I was gone for about 9 years, and I came back in 2005, and I've been back since. And I've lost count, George, maybe 8 or 9 job titles at Syracuse Stage. So it just sort of ran out. So, but yes, previously I was the associate artistic director. And in that role, worked very closely with Bob Hupp, our artistic director, in selecting the seasons. I oversaw our new play festival, Cold Read, which I founded. And really is focused on new work at Syracuse Stage. And then, I was offered a full-time teaching position at Colgate University, which I accepted. And when I did that, we were trying to think about ways that I could stay connected to Syracuse Stage. And what seemed really smart and reasonable was that I become the first ever resident playwright at Syracuse Stage. So in that role, I continue to do some of the things I was doing in terms of programming, working with Bob, and now Melissa Crespo, who is the associate artistic director. Working with the two of them, the three of us sort of make up the artistic team, and we see to programming and such. I oversee commissions, the commissioning of new work for our theater, and just sort of stay in touch that way. It's an interesting relationship. I no longer have a workspace in the building. I wanted to move away from that. And it's a very comfortable relationship. And I'm really lucky, Syracuse Stage is under no obligation to produce my work, but they do. And I'm very lucky to have that opportunity and to have an artistic home. It's really a valuable thing for a playwright to have.
Yeah, as I was listening to you, you said, I don't have to have a physical space there. Why is that important to not be in the space where you will be producing, where that produces work for you? Why is it important to you?
Well, I think it's really about defining sort of the shape and the boundaries of this position that I have now. It moves away from the artistic administration. And I really have gotten pretty good, George, at creating a creative work life for myself, really structuring my life such that it best serves my creative work. And so, I eventually learned to ask for what you want. And so that was really about making it work for both parties, for myself and making it work for Syracuse Stage. And because I couldn't be there, I'm full-time faculty at Colgate. I'm on sabbatical this academic year, but so I didn't need a space at Syracuse Stage. And I think what we also discovered, although it was prior to the pandemic, but once the pandemic hit, it became really clear that very few of us actually need the physical spaces and places we call our workplace. I think there's a loss in terms of sort of the sort of that hallway stuff that can happen and some of the richness there. But on the other hand, I think I remain sort of fresh because I'm not just sort of around it all the time.
And we celebrate achievement, success, and purpose. And before we get to Tender Rain, I just wanted to acknowledge the shift that you made in your own life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you decided, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'm going to do it. And
Yeah.
because we've known each other for many years, and
Yes,
you were
yes.
not doing this all the time,
That's
right?
that's
And
right.
you found that space to do it and then to be fulfilled in it. And so, and it was a journey. Can you just speak a little to that,
Yeah.
that piece? Because I think other people might be blessed if they're
Mhm.
on that sort of, I'm a creative, but I'm over
Mhm.
here, not being fully creative in the way that my soul would be
Yeah.
would speak to.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you remembering that. Yeah, there was I've been creative. We all are. We all are. We are born inspired. I would do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, and um, and I was always sort of around the creative activities, whether it be music or writing, from a very, very, very young age, and was lucky that my parents saw to it that not just my interests, but my siblings, whatever our interests were, they were supported. And so for me, that meant music at first, and then writing, which came right on top of it. um, and you grow up, I continued to do it, but there was a point where I realized I was dabbling at it,
mm-hmm,
right? I
mm-hmm.
hadn't really given myself over to it to say,
Mm.
okay, but do this seriously. And then finally I did. I decided that I gave myself an ultimatum, George. It was either do it entirely, give yourself to it, make it your life's work, or stop doing it. There was
Mm.
no half step in it anymore. And that's what I did. And when I made that decision and made that choice, everything changed. And it wasn't about sort of trying to fit my writing into my life. It was always about, it had to become, and it did become, and it is fitting my life into my writing. The
Mm.
writing is central, right? It is the reason, it is my life. And because of that, it's been kind to me.
Amen. Amen. So, Tender Rain, which is opening this week at Syracuse Stage, it's
Yeah.
set in a small southern city in the mid 50s. So
Yeah.
immediately when I think of that, I'm like, oh Lord, Kyle, you gonna do this to me? So holla at me. Talk
Ah,
to me.
okay, so here's what I think. I
You
think I'm
know what
going.
it is, right? You know what I'm saying,
I
right?
know. I know what you're saying. Okay, so and this is a good sort of segue because Tender Rain, in fact, it's a new play in that the world has never seen it, and the world premiere happens this Friday. But for me, it is actually a U-turn. It's the first play I ever wrote.
Oh.
And so the first saved file of this play on my computer system is from August 1st, 2004.
Mm.
So almost 20 years ago. And it actually is my creative thesis for my MFA in playwriting.
Mm-hmm.
This is what this play springs from. So there's sort of that about it. And so it's really interesting to be working on it again now, and to be confronting the playwright I was 20 years ago and the playwright I am now. I've said, I can revise the play, but I can't revise the playwright who first wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a really sort of interesting exercise. But so yeah, it's set in the American South in the mid 50s. And I think it will surprise people. I was really interested in looking at the ways and the more subtle ways in which racism and segregation can sort of seep into domestic and intimate relationships, domestic
Mm-hmm.
lives and intimate relationships. And I was interested in looking at sort of that from at a a mix of characters, right? And so there's, as in all my plays but one, it's always Black folks and white folks together, because we in it together.
We in it.
We in it together. We've been in it together since 1619. We are in it together. And there can be some pretty easy sort of narratives about how those relationships might have gone down and what they looked like, you know, and the ones that are frequently projected in, say, cinema or even the theater, sort of what those relationships, Black and white relationships in the South in the 1950s look like. But there's a deeper truth of connectedness. There's a deeper truth of shared difficulty. There's a deeper truth of shared loss, shared regret, and the possibility of absolution, right? Maybe. So I look at that in this play, and I bring together an older Black woman named Ruthie Mims and a successful white banker, and their relationship, which has been lifelong for the white banker.
Mm-hmm.
And at first blush, you know, people are sort of like, oh my God, the mammy figure. No, that's on you. What I am writing is a familial relationship. This is mother and son. It is deeply complex and very infused with a shared past that is secretive and has risen again to impact their present day. But I think also the play for me emerges as a metaphor for our country, our inability to look back at our shared past, to recognize it as shared, to own the difficulties and the atrocities of it, and then somehow together to move forward, right? Mm. And the play is sort of a metaphor for that. It doesn't hit that like on the nose, but it's a metaphor for it. It's a domestic drama in many ways, but it has that idea that the past, as James Baldwin said, the past is never past, right? It's with us all the time, and it can drag us down.
Right.
It can be a guiding light. So.
All right, so Tender Rain opening at Syracuse Stage, syracusestage.org. Be there for this world premiere. And you've had, how many world premieres have you had at Syracuse Stage? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think we were counting that. I think there have been, I think this is the fourth. This is the fourth world premiere at Syracuse Stage. I think it's the seventh or eighth production overall in all of our programs and all the way that they have produced my work. But in the subscription season on the main stage, I believe this is the fourth one. All
right, Mr. August Wilson Bass. But anyway, do you see yourself as creating thematic work in the way that August Wilson did? And I know it says, well, how dare you compare me to that? But I'm just saying, like, because he wrote a particular cycle of plays about a particular time in African American history. Yeah. Are you seeing, are you drawing from that or in any ways?
I don't think so. I mean, you know, of course, I revere much of his work, have been inspired by it. But someone the other day at Syracuse Stage said there is no Kyle Bass play. And by which she meant they are all very different. Like right? They're very, I mean, you hear an August Wilson play, you know it's an August Wilson play.
Right.
You hear Shakespeare, you know it's Shakespeare. Right. And you can go down the list. I'm a little bit more of a chameleon when it comes to my work. And I hadn't really thought about it, but on reflection, my plays are all very, very different. You would think different playwrights wrote them. I'm not sure where that comes from, other than I can only write the play I want to see, and there are all kinds of plays that I like to see, so I try to write all kinds of plays.
You mentioned James Baldwin and Citizen James, the young man without a country, about a young James Baldwin. There's some news about that. What's going on with that play?
Well, I tell you, that play has been optioned for a feature-length film. And I will write the screenplay, and so I'm working on that, and that's really, really, really exciting.
Amen. I'm not saying amen 3 times.
That's all right. I'll take it.
Because talking to Kyle is like, being in the spirit in the church, right? No, but Kyle, this is great. Continued success for you.
Thank you,
Tender
George.
Rain opens at Syracuse Stage this Friday. Please be there. Check it out. You got previews on Wednesday, right?
On Wednesday and Thursday.
Yes, previews beginning May 3rd, so you can check it out before, while they're still working out and Kyle's giving notes, or actually Rodney's giving notes, right?
Rodney Hudson, my great friend and the director. It's been great to work with him. Long time professor in the Department of Drama at SU, a wonderful artist in his own right as an actor and a director and a singer. He's bringing a beautiful vision to this play, and I will tell you, it is visually, it's going to knock you out.
And lastly, I'm really interested in the process. You put the words in the page, but are other people then responsible for the scenic design, the lighting, if there's going to be music, or do you contribute to that as well?
That's a great question. And in this play, and this is a little bit how this play is different from my other plays, on the page, I'm really specific about the theatricality and the theatrical elements of the play. I call for specific pieces of music in the play. I lean in, I sort of lean into and suggest a minimal design approach. And that's exactly what the brilliant designers have given this production. So, I write a play, that script is a blueprint for all the other artists to do their work. Oh. And my goodness, they have done some beautiful work. I can't wait for people to see it, and I can't wait for people to hear it. There used to be a time when people used to say, we didn't say I went to see a play. We used to say I went to hear a play, and I'm bringing a little bit of that back.
I never heard that. So thank you for I never heard I went to hear a play. So
yes.
So okay, that must be an artist's way of saying okay, so let's go see and hear the play.
Yeah, come see and hear. That's exactly right. Come see and hear Tender Rain at Syracuse Stage.
All right, it's going to be it opens on Friday, May the 5th, but previews begin on May the 3rd, and it goes from May the 3rd, I believe, to the 21st. There we go. May 3rd to the 21st. Tickets at SyracuseStage.org. Kyle Bass.
George, thank you, sir.
Resident playwright, Syracuse Stage, here on Inspiration for the Nation.
Thank you.